Good day, welcome to another English class. Today we'll be looking at a different thing altogether from the aspect of oral English. All right, we've been made to understand that English language is what we live with, and as such, we must learn it to the fullest and practice it properly. Aside exam purposes, it's appropriate that we know how to use certain words correctly, how to articulate words correctly, and pass the information that we desire to pass. So today we'll be looking at the topic stress. Stress. Now we're not looking at stress in respect to possibly physics, if I'm not mistaken, where you undergo rigorous trainings and you're fagged out. No. We're looking at stress from the angle of English language, and under English language is classified under oral English. So for our lesson objective, we'll be looking at 3 lesson objectives. We'll define stress in respect to English. We'll mention the types of stress. Then we'll define emphatic stress, which is our focal point, and give some examples or give an example. Okay, so this is stress. Now from the layman's point of view in English, we'll see stress as the exertion of energy on a particular syllable or word over the others. Now I say a particular syllable because when you look at a word can be classified into 2 syllables, 3 syllables, 4, 5, and even 6. So we have a 1-syllabic word, we have bisyllabic words, we have disyllabic, and we have polysyllabic words. Now when we talk about 1-syllable words, we look at those words that can't be split into 2, like the word word is a monosyllabic word. Right, we can't split it into 2. But when we look at such words as import, export, all right, refuse, these are what we call bisyllabic words, words that have 2 syllables. Then we also have polysyllabic words or multisyllabic words. These are words that have from 3 syllable words and upwards. So stress exactly is the exertion, all right, of energy on a particular syllable over the other. It can also be exertion of strength or energy on a particular word over the others. So looking at stress from the linguistic aspects, and particularly under phonology, when we talk about phonology, we talk about phonetics, the right pronunciation of words. When we look at it from that angle, we see stress, or what we call accents, as a relative emphasis or prominence given to a certain syllable in a word or to a certain word in a phrase or sentence. That's what stress generally is. So you see that stress can be applied in 2 ways, and that is what will bring us to the types of stress that we have. So I'll run through it again, that when we talk about stress in English, we refer to the exertion of energy. When you're pronouncing a word, you realize that at a certain point, there is a syllable that takes a higher pronunciation. It goes up. That's what we call stress. When you accentuate, when you give, preference to a particular syllable by taking it higher than the others, that's what stress is. Now you can as well do likewise in a group of words where you have a sentence or a phrase. You notice that a particular word is being emphasized more than the others. Now we want to look at types of stress. Basically, I will look at stress from 2 angles. We have the word stress and the emphatic stress. Now it is in the word stress that we have given stress on a particular syllable over the other. Then it's in emphatic stress that we have given stress on a particular word over the other words. So in a sentence, when a particular word is emphasized more than the others, when a particular word is written in capital letters, that's where the emphasis comes. When a particular word is given emphasis on over the others, we look at it from the angle of emphatic stress. Then in word stress, that is when you give emphasis on a particular syllable. I told us upon introduction that in a word, we could have 2 syllables, we could have 3 syllables. If I have a word as education, I have 4 syllables in the word education. I have the E, I have Ju, I have K, and I have Shan. Now, it's a rule that when a word ends with T-I-O-N or S-I-O-N or I-C, that particular word has its emphasis on the 3rd syllable, counting from the beginning of the word, or if you want to count from the end of the word for words with T-I-O-N, S-I-O-N, I-C, then it's on the 2nd syllable. We call it the penultimate syllable. All right. So basically we have 2 types of stress. That's the angle I'm looking at it from now, the word stress and the emphatic stress. And these 2 will be our basis for today. Okay, let's continue. Now, the word stress. The stress placed on syllables within words is called word stress. I've earlier stated that when we place stress, when we place emphasis on a particular syllable within a word, all right, that's what we call word stress. So when a word is given to you, there must be basically the syllable that carries the stress. That means at the point of pronunciation, that particular syllable that carries the stress should go up while the other one comes down. So I give an example using the word education. In the word education, you will agree with me with the analysis I gave that the stress is on the K. So if I'm pronouncing the word, I will have education. That's stress. So the stress is on the K. That means I've placed emphasis on it, showing that it should be accentuated at the point of pronunciation. So under the word stress, we have what we'll call the primary stress and the secondary stress. The word stress are classified into 2, namely the primary stress and the secondary stress. Now, the primary stress is the one that we are conversant with. It is the very one that in an exam condition we are expected to indicate where a particular stress falls on in a syllable. In a word, we'll have a syllable that bears the primary stress, but the secondary stress is not discussed for exam purposes. We just know it for knowledge sake. But if we are looking at the exam condition and what comes out basically in WAEC, in NACO, in JAM and other exams, external exams, now it's basically the primary stress that questions will be asked from. The secondary stress is just for knowledge purpose. Now, how do I differentiate the primary stress from the secondary stress? Before I read what we have here. Now, there is always a symbol at the very syllable that bears the stress. It's just like a stroke beside that very syllable. You don't see it in all the syllables. You only see that stroke on the syllable that bears the stress. Now, for the secondary stress, it is beneath the very syllable that bears the stress. Now, the primary stress exerts the stress on a particular syllable over others. All words have primary stress, but most words don't have secondary stress, and that's the fact. All words have primary stress, but not all words have secondary stress. There are some words with secondary stress. And note it that for as much as you have primary stress in a word, doesn't mean you won't have the secondary stress. But it's possible for you to have a primary stress and not have a secondary stress, but it's not possible to have a secondary stress without the primary stress. As a matter of fact, the primary stress is more prevalent in words than that of the secondary. So the primary stress is applied on top of the syllable that bears the stress, while the secondary is placed at the bottom of the syllable with the secondary stress. Now, these are words with primary and secondary stress at the same time. Now, it's a perfect example, like I stated, it's just like a stroke. In the word avocado. So this is the primary stress, which is more prevalent, which is sounded. It's possible for you not to hear the secondary stress. Emphasis, it's not placed on the secondary stress, but it is on the primary stress. So the one at the top is the primary stress, while the one at the bottom is the secondary stress. So at the point of pronouncing the word AVOCADO, we pronounce it as VO, K. That's where the stress is, K, do. Now, some other way that I make my students understand where stress could be, it is always impossible for stress to appear in silent vowel sounds, all right? Where you have your schwa sound, those silent vowel sounds, by silent vowel sounds, I mean the schwa sound. Is a particular sound in the vowel sounds that we call the schwa sound. It's like an inverted E, all right? It's very silent, it's not audible. So this here we have a vacado. It can be in do, it can be in o, all right? So that's why we have a vacay, because it's a diphthong. Now macaroni, we have the primary stress at ro, and we have the secondary stress at ma. So that's that with cappuccino. Cappuccino is also another word with the primary, both the primary stress and the secondary stress. Words with primary stress only, these are basically words with only primary stress. They don't have secondary stress. Remember I told us, aside the stroke that is attached to the syllable that bears the stress, another way to indicate stress, basically for your exam purpose, is that the letters, or rather the syllable that bears the stress, the letters are capitalized. Once you see the capitalized syllable, that is the syllable that bears the stress. Because for exam purpose, that is how it is done. But if you want to check your dictionary, you want to identify how words are stressed using your dictionary, they won't be capitalized. That was why I had to show us the use of the stroke. That is basically how the dictionary shows stress, using the stroke to identify the syllable that bears the stress. But for exam purpose, your WAEC, your JAMB, your NACO, and other exams that may possibly set questions posing on word stress, you must look out for syllable or syllables that are capitalized. So the capitalized part of that word, that's the syllable that bears the stress. So words with primary stress have the word disturb. Stop disturbing me. So you can't pronounce disturb. That means you have not accentuated the word properly. So it is dis and turb. So once you get to the second syllable, it goes high. As a matter of fact, disturb is a verb, all right? So one thing we must know, that verb words with two syllables are usually stressed on the second, all right? Verb words with two syllables are stressed on the second syllable. That's a rule. So when you understand these rules, you run with it, so that when you get to the exam hall, it wouldn't be a case of pronouncing the words over. What you ask yourself, is it a noun? Is it a verb? Is it an adjective? Is it a preposition? So once it's a verb, you know that the next thing you ask yourself, is it a two-syllable word? If it's a two-syllable word, then it is stressed on the second syllable. If it's a noun, nouns are stressed on the first syllable. Noun words with two syllables, please get me right. Noun words with two syllables are stressed on the first. Likewise, adjectives of two syllables, they are stressed on the first syllable. But for verbs and prepositions, like we have here, they are stressed on the second syllable. So these words are basically words that have been stressed either on the first syllable, the second syllable, the third, the fourth, depending on the number of syllables. All right, so you see there's a mistake somewhere here. This is psychology, not logy. The stress is on the third syllable, counting from behind. and second syllable from the front. Okay, so that is it. So this psychology is wrong. It is not psychology. No, it is psychology. Psychology. The stress is on the CHO. All right, so capitalizing a syllable is a way of showing stress in words. Yes, I've said it earlier that capitalizing a syllable is a way of showing stress in words. The capitalized syllables are the stressed. I told us that in your dictionary, the syllables that are stressed are not capitalized. No, rather the stroke that I told us about indicates stress. The stroke indicates the stress. But for exam purposes, they are capitalized. The capitalized syllable shows the syllable that bears the stress. So let's look at words with letter endings and where they are stressed. Words with letter endings and where they are stressed. It's just a handful of them, right? So we'll make more research on our own, indicate them, and run with it. So words with T-I-O-N, S-I-O-N, and I-C are stressed on the second syllable from behind. Sometimes they are called the penultimate syllable. The second to the last syllable is called the penultimate syllable. So basically, words with T-I-O-N, S-I-O-N, I-C, 4-letter words, 3-letter words, are stressed on the penultimate, what we call the second syllable from behind, or the third syllable counting from the front. In case we don't, let's not confuse ourselves with using the word penultimate. Just know that once I have words that end with T-I-O-N, S-I-O-N, I-C, the stress should be on the second syllable from behind. Education, decision, all right? Pragmatic. So that is it. We have to note that words that end with ATE are stressed on the third syllable from behind. They are stressed on the third syllable from behind. TY, CY, PHY, GY, and AL of 3-syllable words are stressed on the third syllable from behind. So they are stressed on the third syllable from behind. Basically, that will be the first syllable, right? So when you have 4, it's also stressed at the third syllable. When they are 3-syllable words, then it's stressed at the first syllable. TIAL is stressed on the second syllable from behind. Words like consequential, partial, that's partial, all right, second syllable, partial. Then TIVE stressed on the third syllable from behind, educative. All right, now let's look at these rules closely. It says most 2-syllable nouns and adjectives are stressed on the first syllable. I said that while we were having our introduction, that most of them. So you know when something is said to be, virtually everything. So most 2-syllable nouns and adjectives are stressed on the first syllable. For example, you have slender. That's a description of a person. So it's an adjective. When you want to describe someone, either you say the person is slim, the person is thin, or you use the word slender. Slender is a 2-syllable word, is an adjective, and when pronouncing it, the SLEN should be accentuated. Slender, slender, not slender. No. So that's it. Then we have a noun word, China, China. You know, I said something that when you have a schwa sound ending a word, it's likely unusual to stress the syllable with a schwa sound. It's unusual. I've not seen that. I'm yet to find out. So once you understand the schwa sound and the letters that bear the schwa sound, note that it's highly possible to stress the schwa sound. Now, most 2-syllable verbs are stressed on the second syllable. For example, you have the word decide, decide. Then you have export, that's the act. That's an act. When you say something is a verb, is an act that you do, either mental act or physical act. All right. So we have the word export. You can also have this same word in the noun form. In that case, is a kind of move in stress. The EX will be stressed, while PORT will be unstressed. So we'll have export. Export, that's the goods that you send away. Then the act of sending those goods is what? Export. So that is it. You have to accentuate the syllable that bears the stress. That way you get the meaning of what you're saying. You can imagine someone wants to say something, or maybe say that goods are exported. Person say goods are exported. It wouldn't sound really right, especially to the original speakers of English. So you must accentuate the right syllable so as to pass the right information, especially for these words that have same spellings, same pronunciations for noun and pronoun, but just a change in stress. All right, point number 3 says stress is given on the penultimate syllable for words. I already said that. Words ending with IC, TION, SION, examples are there. The penultimate, I told us, is the second to the last syllable. That way we can say the syllable, the second syllable from behind. That's the penultimate, second to the last. Ultimate is the last. Penultimate, second to the last. So stress on the third syllable from the end is given for words ending with CY, TY, PHY, GY, AL. You see the word democracy, democracy, geology, geology, not geology, no. All right, so we need to pronounce them appropriately, putting the stress at the right syllable. So for compound nouns, what are compound nouns? They are nouns made up of 2 or more existing words. Stress is given on the first part. For example, greenhouse. These are 2. Green is an adjective, then house is a noun. Then you bring them together, it's a compound noun. Now made up of 2 or more existing words. You stress the first syllable. Then for compound adjectives, that's adjectives that appear to be 2 but used to describe a noun, you give the stress on the second syllable. Now, one would be asking, we have adjectives and noun stress given to the first syllable. Why is there a change now? We are looking at compound nouns and compound adjectives. So when it has to do with compound adjectives, give stress to the second syllable, the second word in the compound adjective. But if it's a compound noun, give stress to the first word in the compound noun. Now let's look at emphatic stress. We have looked at word stress, and under word stress we looked at the primary stress and the secondary stress. We placed emphasis on the primary stress, reason being that the angle questions are asked for exam purposes, WAEC, NECO, and JAM. Now, I told us that secondary stress isn't as relevant as the primary stress because we've never seen questions posed from that angle. But for word stress and other word stress, the primary stress, there are loads of questions asked. As a matter of fact, you have 5 questions from your NECO and WAEC asked under word stress for you to identify the very syllable that bears the stress. Now, emphatic stress is another aspect in WAEC that students tend to feel, but for me and for some other teachers, emphatic stress is the easiest when it comes to oral English questions. When it comes to oral English questions, emphatic stress, it's just a giveaway question. As a matter of fact, I tell my students that they should think of having 5 over 5 under emphatic stress. On no account should they fail questions on emphatic stress, because it's a case of identifying the word that is stressed in a sentence and looking out for the option of all 4 options given. There must be a particular one that negates or that is contrary to the stressed word in the question. All right, so let's look at what is emphatic stress. Emphatic stress is a stress placed on a particular word in a phrase or clause or a sentence for clarity or for emphasis to show that I am actually discussing this thing. Of all the words used in a sentence, this is the very one I'm interested in. This is the very one I'm placing emphasis on because I have something I need to get out of it. So things to note while choosing your answer. What are the things I need to note? Once you get, conversant with these things, trust me, if you go to ExamGuide, check questions from each year past on emphatic stress, you will be happy, you will obey the rules, and you will definitely get everything. So it says, take note of this while choosing your answers. Take note of the word that is emphasized in the question. The word that is emphasized is usually capitalized. The emphasized word is usually capitalized. Remember, it is a sentence, but in that very sentence, a particular word is written in capital letters all through. It is not a case of a particular syllable being capitalized. No, this is a case of the word being capitalized in a sentence. So look out for that very word that is capitalized. Then when choosing your answer, choose the option that does not have the capitalized word. You have 4 options given. Of the 4 options given, you will see the one that doesn't have that same capitalized word that is given, or it could speak the opposite of it. So all the options except one carries the capitalized word in the question. So the one without the capitalized word is the correct answer. Now let's look at this. This is an example, and after which we'll go through our exam guide, run through some questions, past questions, and see how far we can go with it. Then I will leave you to do justice to the others. All right, it says, Tammy's girlfriend is always stunning. Tammy's girlfriend is always stunning. All right, and in this sentence, the capitalized word is stunning. Now I have 4 options. What do? I look out for the word stunning, check the option that doesn't have the word stunning. It's that easy. Look out for the word that doesn't have stunning. Option A says, is Emeka's wife always stunning? Is Emeka's sister always stunning? Option B says, is Tammy's sister always stunning? Option C says, is Tammy's wife always beautiful? Option D says, is Tammy's wife occasionally stunning? Now the answer is what? C. Why? Because the emphasized word is stunning, and I have stunning in all other options except option C, which replaced stunning with what? Beautiful. Remember what I said? The word written in capital letter is the one that you will look out for, the option that doesn't contain it. Now, if it were to be that the emphasized word is Tammy's, you will agree with me that the answer will be option A, because all other options have Tammy's, but option A has Emeka's. Now, if also the emphasized word is girlfriend, you will see that, if we see that the emphasized word is always, you will agree with me that the answer will be option D. Why? Because always appeared in all other options except option D. All right, we have come to the end of the topic stress. So let's see how far we have learned, whether what we were taught was assimilated. So we'll go to our exam guide. At this point, you have to go to objective. When you get to objective, go to oral English aspect, go for emphatic stress and word stress. So I'm looking at 2021 and we are getting started. All right, this is it. Oh, wow. Now we have the word accuracy. Accuracy, all right. So this is accuracy. I'm giving this. B is the answer. Next one, we have consequential. I told us words that end with TIAL are stressed at the penultimate. So this is consequential. That's C. Next, is insensitive. Now, when you add a prefix to a word, naturally, words that end with T-I-V-E are stressed on the first syllable. Now, the presence of the prefix doesn't change it. It's still on that very syllable when there is no prefix. So my stress will be on what? Sensitive, insensitive. Then I have words that end with T-Y. That's what? Brutality. We said that words that end with T-Y are stressed at the third syllable from behind or the second syllable from the beginning. Then we have the word declaration. This was practically taught. We said words that end with T-I-O-N, S-I-O-N, I-C, three-letter words, four-letter words are stressed on the penultimate. So I have declaration. That's penultimate syllable. All right, let's see questions posing on emphatic stress. No, this is not. I'm going to number 11. This is emphatic stress. Now, we'll look at the word that is emphasized. Which word is emphasized in the sentence? Many students attend lectures every day. Now, the emphasized word is attend. What do? I look out for the word that doesn't, the option rather, that doesn't have the word attend. Option A has attend. Option B doesn't have attend. Option C has it, and option D has it. So my answer is option B. It says, do many students skip lectures every day? The next one says, John's parents have received the letters. John's parents have received the letters. And the emphasized word is what? Parents. All right, you can see that option A doesn't have parents, rather it has friends. So that's my answer. It's as easy as that. All right, the next one says the third year girls were commended by the principal. The third year girls were commended by the principal. What is the emphasized word? Third year. Third year girls, that's a compound adjective. All right, so I look out for the option that doesn't have third year, and that's option A. You see, it's that easy. You don't need to keep reading and reading. It's just for you to get the very option that doesn't have the stressed word. The next one says, Stephen seldom goes to the house. Seldom goes to the house. I look out for the one that has not seldom. What's that one? Option D. It says, does Stephen often go to the house? All others have seldom except option D. Thank you for participating in today's class. You can practice more questions using the ExamGuide app. The app scores and gives a detailed explanation of all the questions at the end of your practice test. You can learn a particular topic of interest with different modes like study mode, mock mode, and practice mode. It also has other features that make learning fun. It is a must-have for all serious students. Download from www.examguide.com if you don't have it yet. See you in the next class. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, hit the notification bell, and share the videos to people that will benefit from it. Bye.